Sports Weekly. Now joining me at the table to talk a little UMass athletics is our very own Jesse Mayfield-Sheehan, JMS. Thanks for joining us. Now, throughout the night as you've been watching, as we cut into commercials, you've been seeing some packages. Those have been put together by Jesse right here. Jesse, we thank you for those. Some great coverage. That's always useful. Most recent one you saw was the field hockey team. Glad that was most recent coming into this because we want to start it off on a positive note. We don't want to bring our viewers down. So, field hockey team's looking good. Why don't you cover what we saw in the package real quick, and then give us a little insight in the weekend coming up against number 2 Maryland and UNH.
All right, well, what you just saw was the field hockey's most recent game against Hofstra. Obviously, you saw the final score was 5-1 in favor of UMass. And I think that was an important game for them, as was mentioned by Brooke Sabia in the post-game interview, as they were coming off a tough loss against UConn, a 4-1 loss, and really just nothing went right for them in that particular game on Wednesday at Connecticut. And, you didn't even have to be there to see they got outshot, outpaced, out just about everything. And the final score was a loss of 4-1. And then this game against Hofstra, weren't playing quite as strong a team, and they really just got to go out there and take care of business and dominate in just about every aspect of the game, which I think was good for the team to do. So I think it was really good for the team, and now they get to, as they go ahead for 2 additional games in the weekend. And as for those 2 games, UNH, not the strongest team, a regional rival, but they're currently 3-4 on the season. They have the potential to be a tough opponent because, any team can beat any team on any given yada yada. But I've spoken to Coach Tagliente and some of the players, and they've really said, we are a better team than UNH. We just have to go out there and play our game, and if we play it right, then we should be winning this game. As for number 2 Maryland, that is where the real challenge lies for this weekend. This is a team that is the top scoring team in the nation right now. They are undefeated thus far, so that is going to present a real challenge for the Minutewomen, especially, considering that aside from an early win over, Michigan team that at the time was higher ranked than UMass, but since has sort of dropped off the rankings and hasn't had the greatest season. Aside from that one game, UMass has not defeated a team that is higher ranked than them. Granted, that's kind of hard when you're ranked 7th in the nation.
It's true.
But they've struggled. They lost 2-1 to Syracuse in a bit of a defensive standoff. They lost to UConn in a rather tough 4-1 beatdown, and now they're taking on the number 2 team in the country. So they've shown in past seasons, they shown last season that they have the potential to beat tough, highly ranked teams. They defeated Syracuse, actually, when they were number 1 in the country, when they were ranked really high. So they have the potential to beat really high-ranked teams. It's just a question of whether or not they can go out and whether they can play their game to the best of their abilities and go out and do it.
Yeah, if they perform like they have been and like the team that they really are, I think they can beat Maryland. I think they're one of the best teams in the country, and I think we've seen that. So that's a great matchup to really define them as a team. Moving on to something a little less positive, a somber topic here at UMass Sports Weekly. We want to touch on the UMass football game where more points were scored than people showed up. Vanderbilt beat UMass this week, 24-7. And I got to make a comment on the people that were there because as an SEC team in Vanderbilt, they must have walked into that stadium and said, "What are we doing here?" There was not a soul there. It's just kind of embarrassing, but we take any positives out of that?
Yeah, well, I think there were a little more than 24 people at the stadium, at the very least for the press coverage,
31.
Considering it was on ESPN News and all that. I think there were at least a little more than 24, Casey. At least if you were able to observe that, you were there.
I said total points. It was 31. So
all right.
I gave him.
Okay. But anyway, certainly another disappointing loss for the Minutemen against Vanderbilt. But there were, again, a few positives. It's hard to, keep throwing these tiny positives in there when UMass keeps getting beat down by these superior teams. But they're in a rebuilding phase, so you have to take positives where you can get them, I suppose. A.J. Doyle had another solid performance for where the team is at. He completed 20 out of 28 passes, 133 yards, and he threw a touchdown. And what I really liked was the team had its longest scoring drive of the season. Drove 75 yards down for a touchdown. I mean, the longest touchdown drive this team has had so far has been 54 yards, which really isn't the longest touchdown drive when you think about it. And I think with this game, they showed they can actually drive down the field and score when, on occasion. So that was a good sign. The defense, through the first 3 quarters, looked pretty good. They held Vanderbilt to 10 points through the first 3 quarters. Fourth quarter, the wheels sort of came off, and they gave up 2 additional touchdowns, which resulted in the final score, obviously. And unfortunately, the rest really there's not much good to look at. The rushing attack was atrocious for UMass. Couldn't even amount to 100 total yards, and despite 5 different rushers, including the 2 quarterbacks that played, and averaged 3.2 yards per carry. Stacey Bedell, who's supposed to be stepping up and becoming the #1 running back, averaged 2.4 yards per carry on the day, only managing 5 carries, so that didn't look good. One positive note was the return of tight end Rob Blanchflower. He had a pretty good game. I think he finished with 7 receptions on the day, so he had a pretty good game, so he could be helpful to the offense going forward on the passing attack, so that was good to see. A bit of a scare during the game as A.J. Doyle had to leave the game due to an injury, but he returned, so he wasn't gone for the entire game, so that looks good going forward. But, going forward, there's only so much good you can say about this team after it keeps only scoring a single touchdown.
Yeah, you're not going to win a game scoring 1 touchdown, and not going to win a game scoring 0 touchdowns. So that's really where it comes in. They need to start. The defense played like a D1 team. They faced Vanderbilt. They stood up to Vanderbilt. But the offense just isn't there. We're seeing some bright spots from Doyle, I think. I like him in the offense. He's moving a little more, not getting as many turnovers. So we'll see how it plays out. They still got some time. It's still a learning process, Yeah. Now, another package you saw earlier tonight was in the men's soccer game. Again, we thank you for that. Great coverage. Unfortunately, the coverage has not been fantastic. They are currently winless? Is that it? Yeah, winless.
Yeah, they have 1 tie, but no wins.
Oh, they got the tie, so give them
that.
First
game of the season, they got a tie, and since it's all been adding to the losing column since.
So they're not completely defeated. They're not a defeated team. They have that tie there.
Yeah.
That's good.
Winless, but not tieless.
We'll take the tie. So why don't you give us a little summary of what we've been seeing from this team, which hasn't been much?
The story of the men's soccer team is really just a story of missed opportunity after missed opportunity. I mean, the team is getting shots off. They're setting themselves up for opportunities to score. I mean, in a few of their losses, in a few of their more recent losses, they've actually outshot some of their opponents. The problem is, a lot of these shots are missing the net. Not a lot of these shots are on goal. And their shot on goal percentage, which is, how many of their shots are actually shots on goal, is about 35%. So about 35% of the shots they take are actually shots that could go in. On the opposing side, about 52% of their opponent's shots are actually headed for the net. So that just gives you a bit of a comparison. And when you look at that particular statistic, it's not as surprising to see that the opponents are getting more goals than UMass, and it's not as surprising to see that the Minutemen have only 3 goals throughout the season. And
it's mathematical.
Yeah, that's mathematical there. And when you hear the fact that the team has a total of 3 goals throughout a season that I think is 7 or 8 games in so far, when they have less goals than they have games, it's soccer, but still 3 goals.
Making goalies look good.
7 or 8, it does make the opposing goalies look pretty good. Which is too bad because, redshirt freshman goalkeeper Nick Ruiz has been making a great effort. He's been making plenty of saves for the team. And he's been doing a pretty good job defensively. But the offense is giving him absolutely no support, and you're seeing so many shutout losses, one after another, and it's just building up for the team.
Yeah,
you saw the interview with Coach Sam Koch. There's just some kind of force field around the net that's keeping them from scoring.
They're all vexed out there. Well, it's a heavy role to put on a goaltender to come out and play like that, but Ruiz has been stepping up. So there's a bright spot there. We find the bright spots within these athletics. Yeah. Now, moving on to the Minute Women, as you mentioned a little bit earlier. Similar start to them in the soccer department. 0-3, not looking very good But since then, they've really changed. What do you attribute this turnaround to?
Yeah, well, like you said, they've been turning it around. They're starting to show signs of life. Their current record, I believe, is about 3-5-1. I would say the turnaround is mainly on freshman goalkeeper Danielle Krasinski. Through those first 3 games, she had no more than 2 saves in each of those games. But since they won one tie against Providence in that 4th game where she had 8 saves, she's had no less than 4 saves. So she's really stepped up in goal. And the offense has done pretty good throughout that time, but mainly it's been on the defensive side. Krasinski has really sort of found her place in net for the Minute Women and has really turned the season around for the team. I think that's been the real key for the Minute Women's turnaround this season.
Well, let's hope they can keep this turnaround going and take this all the way to the end, be one of the top teams in the country. We'll see how it plays out. JMS, always appreciate your coverage of the college sports. And thank you at home for joining us. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Sports Weekly. Also, check us out on Facebook at UMass Sports Weekly. Give us a like, see some of our content, and get in touch with us. Thanks for joining us another week, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place.